Hello.
Hello.
Afternoon. Welcome to our second midweek Wealden. And shortly we're going to be joined by Wendy Mison, our guest for today. Sorry.
Rookie mistake.
I know.
Unbelievable.
So to introduce ourselves, I'm Josie.
And I'm Josie. Oh, no, I'm Jim.
We're from Helsham Creative. Look, we managed to get our logo up here.
Yeah, some very clever positioning, because if Josie was just a little bit further to the left, then she gets the bunny ears.
Yeah, adjusted that slightly. So yes, welcome. We're going to have, it's just a half-hour lunchtime chat today. We're going to speak to Wendy Mison of Mison West Property Agents, and then we're going to have a little bit of music from Tim Izzard. And if you've got any questions for Wendy, pop them up in the comments on Facebook, and hopefully we'll get around to talking about those after the video.
Yeah, and if you want to get in touch afterwards, then you can drop us a line via supportwealden.co.uk. You can use the contact form there, and if you've got any questions specifically for Wendy, I think her contact details will be up as well, but you can always send them via us and we can forward them, whatever. You know how it works, right? Just get in touch. Piece of cake, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
should we bring Wendy into the studio?
Well, I think we should.
I can see you there.
Wendy's only just joined us, so we haven't had time to do a tech check. So we'll see if we've got some sound. This is sometimes what happens. So let's see.
Hello.
Oh, we can hear you. Blimey.
Excellent.
Good going.
Oh, nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
So you've been rushing around this morning, have you?
Yes, I apologise for not allowing the tech check. It was literally a scream through to get in front of you in time.
Yeah, I mean, you
look very chilled and relaxed.
I was going to say quickly a quick G&T in the green room before coming on the screen.
It's, no one would ever know the truth, would they?
I know, it's TV, it's magic.
There we are.
How are you, Wendy?
I am super. Yes, absolutely super. I've just spent a lovely hour and 15 minutes with a potential new customer, chatting about all the things I'm sure we will chat about today. So I've been well and truly warmed up.
That's good. Excellent. So how has the property business been during the last year?
It really is a year, isn't it? We went into the lockdown with everybody else, and prior to that, we'd put in place as many of the preparations as we could from the point of view of getting videos done on our properties and trying to carry on with protecting people. So trying to carry on viewings, etc. Before all the official stuff happened. So the strangest of periods of time, as with everybody else, but still communicating with everybody, still talking, still trying to give a bit of an insight into what was likely to happen if and when we came out. And we managed to hold a lot together from a pipeline point of view for about the first month, and then it started to just all fall apart. So, again, say I was really lucky. All of my sellers stayed with me and just looked to the point where we could come back out. Every single one of those properties, bar one, resold within the first 3 weeks of coming out of lockdown. So,
wow. Oh,
and from that point that they let us out, Josie, and they literally gave us, I think, they made the announcement, and it was confirmed to us as an industry at about 9 p.m. and we went straight into business the next day, and without any exaggeration, it was nothing had ever happened. My biggest fear when they let us out would be that, the following however long would be like tumbleweed, and we'd just be sitting there waiting patiently for the phone to ring, and it was the absolute opposite to that. So it's been very full on. great news for all the clients that we're working for, right across the board, buyers and sellers, all worked out. In nearly every instance, everyone's got where they needed to be. So I'm delighted for them.
So it was like, release the estate agents.
Honestly, Jim, now, again, as an industry, we are used to peaks and troughs, and it was very much a case of you commit the time to it, and you almost make the most of it. Is probably not quite the right term, but be there when required, because you have got a peak, because we didn't know when that was going to stop. As it is, it hasn't really stopped, and it perhaps won't for some time. We will just have to see how that goes. There's always the predictions of the future, perhaps the worry of the predictions of the future, which I understand. I understand everybody's in that place. But while we've got a good market and an encouraging market for everybody, let's just give the right advice and get through it.
I guess what we don't really want as a country is for like some insane property, multiply, a massive hike in property prices. We just want a steady something that sort of more or less mirrors the retail price index, I suppose. Is
and in actual fact, you're right. Yeah, you're right. And as agents, we don't particularly like it when it all goes a bit mad either. We feel that there should be enough to go round. We feel like if we take a property to the market, we want to be able to spend the time finding the right buyer. When I brought one to the market recently where within 2 days, I've carried out 17 viewings. Only one person is going to be able to offer on that property. So it's, in actual fact, it resulted in 9 offers. You've got 8 disappointed parties. So it's and I've said to everybody, we don't really like it when it's like this either. We like a steady ship. We like knowing that as a seller, you could do the very best out of that property move that you need to financially. Sometimes that's the answer to it. But as a buyer, we don't want you entering a market, particularly where it's, as you say, shooting up, because it all goes out of kilter, and then it's got to dive, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
So we don't want that for people. So no, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Jim. A nice steady ship is what we like.
Yeah, we all like that.
Yeah, definitely.
So you've lived in the area for quite a while, haven't you?
Yes, I moved down 23 years ago this year. My first agency job was prior to that. I was a weekend negotiator 25 years ago, which was before the inception of Rightmove, would you believe? So I did it the old-fashioned way. Yeah. I went and spoke to the people looking in our shopfront window, and gave them the property details so that they could take something away with them. Yeah. Yes. So I and then arrived here and started work within a couple of years, and yes, have never looked back, never stopped.
And just like every other sector, really, in over the last 30 years or so, technology has played a massive part in your industry, hasn't it? In terms of selling off the internet, for instance, and virtual walkthroughs of properties and things like that, right?
Yes. Yeah, and people say it needs to move on further. So again, that will be interesting, because I think there's an awful lot out there that can help a potential buyer make a decision, and that's super. But there is nothing as good as going to a property, seeing it in situ. I can see I'm wobbling, so I'm going to apologise.
It may wobbling. That's a year in lockdown for you.
It's not the gin, I promise. I can see it's starting to flicker. And actually being there is the only way you can truly make a decision. And in fact, the client that I was just with, we had a really good, I'm coming back, I promise. We had a really good conversation about the virtual tours and the information that's available now. Do you know, we have the facility with a virtual tour to allow somebody to zoom in to such a close point that they can measure a window.
Oh, right. Wow.
It's that clever. Now, it is amazing. It is amazing. There are probably pros and cons against that. I think it has to be discussed and individually applied. But if you've got a city with a great big block of apartments and you're selling half a dozen of them, for example, off plan, it's absolutely incredible. It's incredible because it gives people that before site visit insight into a property, and people are time poor, as we know. So I'm a big fan. I think keep moving it, keep introducing it. Rightmove and Zoopla and all of those property portals have done a fantastic job in really informing and therefore arming a potential seller as well as buyers. You know, nearly everybody I go and see now has got an idea because they know what's gone on around them. Yeah. So they kind of know where they sit in their marketplace. And usually I'm just there to make it make a bit of sense to them and give them that added confidence. So they are super for all of those reasons.
It saves a lot of travelling around as well, doesn't it? Because I remember when we moved down from London many years ago, we would spend weekends just driving around looking at lots of different properties. And
well, you just nosy though, aren't you?
Yeah, well, yeah, of course we liked doing that. But yeah, it would have saved a lot of travelling if you to see all those details beforehand.
Absolutely. Nearly everybody that inquires after a property as a buyer will tell me that they've already Google Earthed it. So they know kind of where it is. They pretty much worked out where the garden is, what orientation the garden is, how big it is, etc. And again, they're just asking me to confirm information 9 times out of 10. And that, if I had that 23 years ago when I was trying to move into the area with a young toddler, heavily pregnant, I had to rely on estate agents to help me. And I'll be honest, not that many of them wanted to. They weren't particularly honest. At the time, it would have been an absolute godsend, because you're right, the up and down the motorways to try and work out where a location is going to suit you and your family, to have that insight would have been absolutely incredible at the time.
Yeah.
And what about, we were talking to Bev Toogood, weren't we, in the last month? And Bev had a really good sort of handle on the high street, actually. So, and you don't have a shop front, do you, as such?
Not currently, Jim,
no. You've got a virtual shop front, of course.
Yes.
How, I wonder, presumably you're from a traditional estate agent background with shop fronts. Yes. People like to look in shop windows. Do you find that people do that virtually now instead, largely, or a bit of both? Probably.
Absolutely. No, it's been well known within the industry for years now that buyers are not going to an estate agent's office.
Yeah.
People really utilising an estate agent's office is a seller in relation to having a place to go to meet their estate agent, and other professionals. So mortgage advisors will utilise them, and again have a meeting place. Buyers, their search begins very much, as we've said, virtually, and it usually starts with a portal, and then it's defined out to all the other areas. So it starts with a portal. It will possibly go into the agent's own site. Sometimes that will be the case.
Right.
And then again, it moves into those other tools that we have at our disposal. The wonders of Google Earth, the wonders of land registry data, all of that background stuff, which in all honesty, that's what they used to come in and sit with us for as a buyer. used to come and do that, but they don't have to any longer.
Can I check what your website address is?
It is very simply www.misonwest.com.
Okay, right. I'm going to put that across the screen so people can see that.
Thank you.
I had a
There
really,
you go.
had a really good question for you, and it's gone now.
Oh, sorry. I
No, it's just
interrupted.
actually we're probably the worst people to be quizzing an estate agent. We haven't moved for 30 years.
It doesn't surprise me. The number of times I had keys over Jim and people say to me, "We're never seeing you again, Wendy, because we're never moving again."
If I never see you again, it'll be too soon.
Yeah. Nothing personal. We're out.
I can't believe that.
I think we're going to have a quick break, aren't we, shortly, to watch a music video.
Lovely.
Then, if anybody's got any questions, if they'd like to put them on, or comments, they'd like to put them on Facebook, then we'll come back to Wendy after the video and hopefully discuss some of those.
All right, let's Wendy, we're just going to take you from the screen for a second. So
Thank you.
So that's Wendy. She'll be back in a few minutes. So we're going to play a video by well, this is, as you know, this is the second of these shows that we've done. Last month we played a lovely song by the Coastal Collective, which was a sort of a charity song in aid of Macmillan's. And this month we're going to play a song by a good friend of ours, actually, because in our spare time we're musicians as well, and we meet a lot of other musicians. And this is something by Tim Izzard, who's a local musician, and Tim's just brought out a wonderful album called Starlight Rendezvous. I had to look at my notes. Sorry, Tim.
It came out at the beginning of the year.
Came out in January, and it's a concept album, and it's very heavily influenced by David Bowie. This track is called, oh no, I forgot.
Watching for the Man.
Watching for the Man. Now, when I listened to this, I immediately picked up the Lou Reed reference, the Velvet Underground reference, and I'm sure you will if you're into that sort of thing as well. So this is Watching for the Man by Tim Izzard.
Sky bus out to the dome last night. Plastic beach shone like a fluorescent light. Down to Mars and up to Vane. Don't get observed if we act the same. Slowly I watch the time, waiting for a sign. Standing behind the line, when I'm watching for that man. Countdown to 5 to 9. He cuts it oh so fine. I'm stood here watching for my man. Found his songs on the side of the library. Sounded sort of like an alien message to me. Placed a trace on the spider's web. The speed up late was all he said. Slowly I watch the time, waiting for a sign. Standing behind the line, when I'm watching for that man. Countdown to 5 to 9. He cuts it oh so fine. I'm stood here watching for my man. Still looks the same. Hey, Mr. Newton, is that still your name? Slowly I watch the time, waiting for a sign. Standing behind the line, when I'm watching for that man. Countdown to 5 to 9. He cuts it oh so fine. I'm stood here watching for my
Right, that's Tim Izzard. I love that. I think that's really good. It's not difficult to miss the Bowie references in that, and his not easy. What did I say?
Not difficult to miss it, but it's not easy to miss it.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway, yes, if you're interested in any more of Tim's music, then along the bottom of the screen you got timizzard.bandcamp.com.
Yeah, I really recommend the album. It's really good, actually.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Really rocking and very Bowie-ish.
Very different to what we do.
Yeah. Should we bring Wendy back in?
Yes.
You're going to do it this time? She threw the mouse at me earlier.
You
do it. Get off.
Right, hold on. We need to get our sound back up again.
So, Wendy, this isn't my brilliant question, but I'm going to say it because it's written here because we thought of it earlier. What tips can you give people to if they're thinking about selling their property? I guess not in terms of obviously get a good estate agent is the top tip, but what can they do to sort of house dressing and that sort of thing? Have you got any sort of tips for that?
The best tip that I was given actually many years ago now was look at your home through buyer's eyes. If you walk round it, you will be more brutal because you are closer to it than anybody else. So you will immediately see all your negatives. But look at it with a slightly broader view. Is that cupboard that's overfull because every time you open it, you stuff something extra into it? Is that going to put a buyer off? The reality is probably not, because all they care about is the fact that it's storage. So when you're looking at it with buyer's eyes, look at your space. Look at how the first impression is going to feel when somebody comes to your door. So start from the front, literally the front door or the front garden, the first arrival at the property, and just work your way through and just ensure that you have the best view of your property that you can. It's space that people want to see.
Yeah. They
don't want to see, interestingly, they don't want to see a show home, because actually that's not normal life. People are buying a home in our location. They are buying
you don't want to lose the homeliness.
Absolutely, so spot on, Josie. And it's one of the things that I have to give that bit of education to a seller. Please don't just go and pack everything away in your garage so that it looks like a sterile box, because that won't give that feeling of homeliness. But what you don't want is, you don't want people coming in and spending so much time looking at your stuff that they're not appreciating the space that your property offers.
Yeah.
Whether it's a smaller home or a larger home, it is. A really good example of that is I was once selling a property where two of the rooms they were using as a library, essentially. So two of the bedrooms. And every single viewing leading up to a point where I started talking to the seller about it, all they kept saying was, how are they going to move all these books? I was a bit kind of, it's not really your problem. You don't need to worry about how they're going to move their books. But actually, it was distracting people. What they weren't saying is, what a lovely size bedroom. I love the way that outlook is. They were just completely by these racks and racks of books. So I just explained it to the vendor. I said, actually, if we'd gone through this process of viewings, we weren't going to know that that's how people were going to react. They are the sorts of, they sound glaringly obvious, but actually, if you have to be a perspective on it, but don't be too close to it. And in all honesty, nearly every single agent out there will be happy to answer the question. Yeah. If we're preparing to go to market, this is what we're thinking. How much do we need to do? And nearly all of us will be more than happy to take the time to answer those questions for them.
Excellent. We've got a question from one of our viewers here, from Sue Edwards. Do you find it more challenging to do business and close the sale virtually as opposed to face-to-face?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a great question, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
Considering what our world has become. Do I find it more challenging? Probably, because I'm a real people person, Sue.
Yeah.
So yes, I am far more comfortable with you in person. I have got better at it. I've got more used to it. In the early days, I've done the videos. God forbid someone's got to listen to me talking for 10 minutes and walking them through the property.
Yeah.
But an insight into that was that actually I probably showed them more detail on a virtual viewing than I would have done in person, because I would be potentially assuming that they are catching where the plug points are and the TV points are without me having to point them out to them. But when you were doing a virtual viewing, actually you were giving them a much more information. But yes, that business close the sale aspect, Sue, yes, I think you're right. I mean, I am much more comfortable face to face and in person, so definitely more challenging. Perhaps it takes longer if I think about the process as it has been.
It's probably going to be a service that you can offer in the future anyway, isn't it? That once you can meet face to face, there'll be some people that might prefer that sort of service anyway.
Yes, it's a trust aspect as well, isn't it? I have to remind buyers all the time that I have a duty of care to them as well. So again, just ask me the questions, because we're not in place to lie to you to get you to a sale under any circumstances. Actually, we just want the right buyers, because that then a transaction is a happier one. The relationships are built. So yes, I think that's where perhaps that slightly removed aspect can be a bit trickier.
Yeah. Okay.
Good
Wendy,
question.
thanks ever so much for joining us. We've
you.
reached the end of our half an hour. That was great.
It's flown, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sure we could easily go on for longer, because it's one of those subjects that runs and runs.
Yeah.
Well, if people, as we said earlier, if people have got any questions, they can always get in touch with you via your website, or they can drop us a question through Support Wealden. Wendy, we'll hope to see you, not virtually, before too long, hopefully.
in real life.
Look forward to it.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Both of you. Thanks, everyone.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So
There she goes.
Thank you very much to Wendy, and I'll just keep her website up for a little while. So if you do want to check it out, you can do.
So if you've enjoyed the broadcast today, and you've got a business or something you'd like to talk about for a few minutes with us, asking inane questions, then drop us a line again via supportwealden.co.uk, and we'd be delighted. Oh, is it .com?
Is it .com?
I don't think it is. I don't think we spent the extra money on that particular domain.
I better just edit that quickly. There we go.
It might be. I don't know. I don't even know my own URL. That's how slick we are.
There we are.
There we are. Try one or other. Drop us a line, and we'd be delighted to talk to you at some point.
In fact, we've got it in our branding there somewhere, haven't we? I can't remember
there
where we did that.
So, and if you're not familiar with Support Wealden, what we do, basically, we run this website, supportwealden.co.uk or .com, whatever.
.co.uk.
It is. Okay, there we go. And essentially, we set it up right at the start of lockdown in 2020, just as a kind of a support mechanism for local businesses, where they can share details of what they're doing.
Yeah, and we're taking it forward as well. So it's going to be support beyond lockdown, and we've actually got plans for an actual meetup. So fingers crossed. This is going to be on the 28th of July. We're going to have. We're aiming to do a mini business expo with all the people who are involved in Support Wealden, so you can come and meet some of them in real life. Again, if you want to know any more about that, click on the website. Maybe subscribe to the newsletter if you haven't done so already. Yeah, you'll find a button on the website to subscribe to the newsletter. One's just gone out. Yeah, and details will be in that as and when we iron them out entirely. So,
Yeah. Anything else
Okay.
to say?
No,
I'm
that's
not
it.
sure.
Just thank you for watching, and we'll be here same sort of time next month. I think it's the 14th next month, whatever the Wednesday is in the sort of middle-ish of the month. So we try and do the middle of the month, middle of the week, middle of the day, but slightly off because it's 12:30.
Yeah. So we have another guest. Thanks ever so much to Wendy for joining us today.
Yeah,
Wendy
thanks again,
Mison
Wendy.
of Mison West.
And thanks to Tim Izzard for his lovely music. And I just put that up quickly again. And that one up quickly in
There we
case
go.
anybody wants to get in touch with either of our guests.
And we'll see you next month.
Okay, thank you.